Hello, welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios, and I'm joined by David. Welcome back, David.
I'm Isabel. It is great to be back. It's great to see you this morning.
Likewise. And for those of you who know the drill, get ready. You can start posting your questions in the comments right now. Hopefully, we can get to them today. For those of you who's your first time joining us, welcome as well. We take your questions, we answer them as tactically, as practically as we can. And if at any point you want to know more, write to us, right? And there's more to be had. So, with that said, Deidre, can you please pull up the first question?
Let's see. I'll read it. And I'll give it to you. And I'll give it to you because it is my first question back. I might as well give it to you. Do you have a specific recommendation for how to start a meeting or conversation with a prospect? Also for how to end a meeting. All right. Well, Maria Isabel, what do you think?
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, actually, we do. So we start almost every meeting we have, be it with a prospect or with a client, asking them what would make the conversation most useful and valuable for you. If you're a client and we see you regularly, this sounds like us asking if you have any priority items for our meeting that you want to add to the agenda. If you're a prospect or somebody we're meeting or the conversation is less structured, then we will ask you just that. What would make the conversation most useful and most valuable for you? We want to know what the aspirations are and what are good outcomes of any meeting we have. That's a great place to start. It's about them and it's not about us. And it implies that you're willing to put your agenda on the side. And we oftentimes actually do. So take it seriously, right? If you're going to ask the question, then honor it and give folks that you're meeting with the opportunity to say, what do they want to take out of your time together? And as to closing the meeting, which was the second part of your question, we will want every meeting to have clear next steps set up, either during the meeting, spoken, followed by a written communication about them, and have clear dates and times when things are happening. We always also end meetings by asking folks if the conversation was not valuable.
Or if it was valuable.
Exactly. It's an honest question. We want to know, right? If the conversation felt like it wasn't valuable, want to know, we want to readjust for the next time. What made it click? Where did our meeting partners get value out of it? David, what do you think?
Well, I think that's exactly right. Obviously, that's our practice, and most of our clients follow that. Yeah. So I mean, it's an easy way to be right side up. First,
Right.
ask what will make it a good meeting for them. And I think you're just to reinforce what you're saying. When you walk into a presentation, we have a couple of presentations deliverables due in the next number of days, and you have a whole deck prepared. You can still say, hey, look, we're planning on going through this whole analysis we did or giving you your org structure or whatever it is. However, maybe that's not what's most on your mind right now. So what would make this meeting most valuable to you? And they might say, well, you know what? Actually, I know you built this thing, but set it aside for a moment because here's something else that's going on. And by doing that, you're right side up and you're a partner, right? You're being there for them as opposed to being there for you. So I agree with you.
Yeah, we've all been in a situation where at the end of the meeting, things didn't click. You don't want to be there. Actually, nobody wants to be there. And one of the ways you preempt that is by asking. Yep. All right. Thank you, John. Good to have you here with us. So, Deidre, next question. This time the question is for you, David.
All righty.
All right. And of course, I have to read 10 lines to get to it. So, my firm did well last year. However, we barely signed any new business this year. That's tough. And it's the cash we got in the last year that's keeping us afloat. Okay, so you're living today on last year's cash. Got it. Yeah. The problem is that based on last year's performance, my staff all earned big bonuses, but the cash that would pay for those bonuses is needed just to cover everyone's salaries today. What do I do? And this question is from Jasper. Thank you, Jasper.
Ouch.
David, what does Jasper do?
Ouch.
Tough situation.
Yeah, that is a tough situation. When you run a small firm, I mean, it's cash is king, right? So you have to manage cash flow, and when things are going well, sometimes it's that's not always as apparent. But we are in a cash business, so I've got bad news for Jasper if you're listening, and I'll be really interested if you're listening and you have different thoughts on this. By all means, chime in. I think that as a firm, you have an obligation here that when you contract with employees and you promise a certain compensation plan, that's an agreement with them. It's contractual, but also just to be in integrity. That's an agreement you have, and you have to find a way to meet your obligation. That could be a loan from your bank. It could be drawing a line of credit. You could go to your employees and ask your employees for a bridge loan to cover their own bonuses. But I will tell you, I'm not super fond of that. I think that puts your employees in an uncomfortable situation, even if they're very loyal to you, right? Even if they love you and everybody gets it and you're a small firm, it's still, I'm not sure that's right as the employer. I also think it brings up a bigger issue just of cash management. Maria Isabel, I'll be interested in your thoughts on this too. Just managing cash is really important for a small firm, which is why we tell people, understand what your MVP is, your minimum viable practice is, so that you're managing your cash first and foremost to that MVP, which keeps the lights on and makes sure everybody's paid. It won't take care of the bonus situation. Keeping cash on hand is important. And also, I mean, we're very conservative, as you know, and we encourage our clients to manage cash conservatively. And we tell them to stay a quarter ahead, meaning pay tomorrow's expenses with today's cash. And that way, when you get to tomorrow, if you run into something, all your expenses are already paid, and you're in a stronger position to react and to make plans without having to say, I've got to restructure. And yet right now I'm in a cash crisis. So you can stay ahead of those cash crises. Isabel, what do you think? Is that a fair response? Am I being too harsh?
Jasper has kind of two big elements to think about. One is a palliative, right? How does he resolve today's problem?
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you said. You borrow, right, from somebody, hopefully a financial institution. And if not, you sit down with each person and you negotiate exactly like you said, David. Okay, under which condition? What are the conditions for you to let me delay this cash receipt for you? And I'm assuming there will be some interest or some fees associated with delayed bonus payments, right? But that takes care of your house is burning. How do you stop the fire from taking over? The second piece is, how do you set yourself up so that you're not in the situation again? Because we know for consulting firms, our cash flow is highly dependent on the terms under which clients pay. And depending on your client pool, right? Some clients have longer payment cycles. You can't always control that. So you can anticipate it. So take that into account as well. I think you have two problems to solve, Jasper. Much in line exactly with what David was sharing before.
Yeah, it actually brings up another thought. And by the way, if you're listening, you have any kind of question about cash flow, post it in the comments. It's a big topic. It's an important topic. It also starts to touch on, Maria Isabel, even structure of how you structure your fees. If you're structuring your fees so that you get paid after you've done the work, which of course clients want, that can put you in a real bind. And we've had clients in that bind where they have taken on the obligation of employees doing the work, which you have to pay for, but they haven't been paid yet by their clients. And if the client is delayed or something goes wrong or objects, then you're caught in the middle. So don't get caught that way. Which is probably a whole other topic. But I wanted to throw that in there.
I I agree. So Joanna, 100% your comment. It's not atypical what the structure you have where you're paying, say, referral fees or
Mm,
any percentage bonus attached with selling a particular project. You're paying for that bonus or that referral fee when you actually receive the cash. That's very smart.
yeah,
If for those of you who instead have bonus structures, think about leveraging this concept and saying, okay, I'm going to put up whatever percentage of what I receive aside as I receive it and
right.
fund my bonus pool as I go throughout the year, which is another way of managing cash so that you're not trying to figure out where is the cash coming from to pay bonuses at the time where you've committed to paying those bonuses.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Joanna, I think that is really good insights that you posted. So thank you for posting that. And again, any other questions
Always.
about cash flow or anything else, throw them on there. All right, Deidre, what's next? My partners and I are fighting over how to articulate the value we provide for clients. Oh, always nice when partners are fighting. How should we weigh the benefit from our specific contributions, versus the ultimate benefit of the client's entire initiative? Got it. So, what do you think, Maria Isabel? So, it looks like different partners are bringing different things to the party, and they're trying to figure out should they focus on the individual pieces or the outcome, or how do you balance it? What do you think?
Right. How do you communicate your impact? Right. That's one angle to this. So I would say look at what your market, your clients, your prospects are placing value, and then formulate your articulation in response to that. Right. What people want is to know you can bring value to them related to the problems they have. So have your messaging highlight those elements that answer their questions. I would also think you could have a macro value statement and then articulate different elements that go into how you make that, how do you actually capture that value for clients? And that's where having different areas of say of depth could help, right? You can highlight it there. But look from the client standpoint, what's most valuable? What's most compelling? David,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting situation. Right? It's hard enough staying right side up, making it about the customer when you're just managing your own thinking. But as we know, when now you've got a bunch of partners in the room and there's starting to be any kind of friction or any kind of fighting, or people want recognition, or and there's any insecurity on any partner's part about the value they're adding, then all of a sudden now you've got all these different places where upside down thinking can come in, which feels to me like what's happened here. That somehow they've gotten caught into, well, is it your stuff or your stuff? And it's always the client.
Right.
it is 100% about the client. I mean, that's what right side up thinking is. The premise is it's not about us. Does not about you, Marie Isabel. It's not about me. It's not about anybody else on our team. It's just about the clients.
And that may perhaps be the theme of the day today, right? All questions had some sort of right side up thinking. Even in the question about bonuses, you got to think about your employees and the folks you committed to as well.
Yeah.
And not just, the cash that you have in hand.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. That is really fair. Right side up is about the stakeholders, and sometimes your employees are the stakeholders. Right. And oh my gosh, somehow, just because you and I enjoy talking with each other, we've already hit almost the end of this. So you listening have been with us for 15 minutes again, but don't go yet. Don't leave yet. Don't cut this off, because if you don't have davidafields.com/Monday live in your calendar, just set for every Monday. Put it in your calendar, and that way you'll be here and you'll join us and you'll ask questions and make comments that make everybody smarter. Also, submit your questions. We get lots of questions. We want to hear from you. You can just submit them to info@davidafields.com, or you can send them to Marie Isabel or to me online on LinkedIn. if you're connected to us. So if you're not connected, connect to Maria Isabel, connect to me on LinkedIn. If you are connected to us and you haven't talked with us, hey, just reach out, say hello. And finally, if you're not familiar with the articles, please subscribe. Just there's some really interesting ones coming up. So make sure you're on the docket to get the articles over the next couple of weeks. And Maria Isabel, it was nice to be here with you again today.
Welcome back.
And thank you for being here. The rest of you have a fabulous week. And do remember, as we were just saying, consulting is not about you, it's about them, your clients, your prospects. So give them value and give them kindness. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.